I don't know all 3 games that are going to be played in London this year, but I can tell you 2 of them. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Joward Gary, representing the 904 from the 602, and today we are talking about the NFL schedule coming out on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be going live for that on JG9 at 7:30 or 7 o'clock. I haven't decided yet. We are going live for that, so be sure that you are subscribed to the main channel, where I will go over the schedule live as it is officially released. But one of the big questions with the schedule is what's going to happen with the international games. We know the Jaguars, the Bears, and the Vikings have home games in London, and they are playing 3 games in London this year. But what is the order of the games, and who are the opponents going to be? Well, I have a pretty good feeling I know the exact order of the home games and who the opponents are going to be for at least 2 of them. I can't tell you who the Vikings are going to play, but I can tell you the other 2 home games. But we're going to start with the order of the games first. There's 1 game at Wembley Stadium, and there's 2 games at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, just like there was last year. The Jags will play a game at Wembley Stadium as the home team. But what's interesting about the release that they have on the Wembley Stadium website, if you looked at it, it says the Jacksonville Jaguars are back under the arch in 2024, marking what will be their 12th game in London. Now, on the surface, you might not think anything about that statement. You might think to yourself, oh, it's just a historical statement showing that the Jags have played in London a lot, and this is their 12th time there. But if you read between the lines, the 12th time in London gives you an idea of when this game is going to be played, and that this will be the first London game of the year. Why do I know that? Because the Jaguars have played in London 11 times before, and when you look at what the Jags are going to do in 2024, all signs point toward the fact that the Jaguars will play 2 games in London this year, 1 as the home team and 1 as the road team, just like they did in 2023, which worked out very well for them as they beat the Atlanta Falcons as the home team at Wembley Stadium, and then were the de facto road team against the Buffalo Bills at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and they won that game. But you look at the history that the Jaguars have had in London. 2013 was game number 1, a loss to the San Francisco 49ers. That was a terrible game. Jags were down 28-0 after 4 possessions. I was at that game. Great atmosphere, terrible game. 2014 lost to the Cowboys. 2015 beat the Bills. 2016 beat the Colts. 2017 beat the Ravens in that massacre, one of the best games I've ever seen the Jaguars play in my lifetime. 2018 lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. Trade for Carlos Hyde, don't use him, absolutely genius. 2019 lost to the Houston Texans. Minshew just collapsed in the 4th quarter. No game in 2020, but in 2021, they played the Miami Dolphins, snapped that 20-game losing streak of theirs. That's 8 games. 2022, they had that loss to the Denver Broncos, where Trevor Lawrence did not look good at all. And then 2023, 2 games, a game against Atlanta and a game against Buffalo. You're doing the math, that's 11. If the Jaguars are playing 2 games in London in 2024, and again, all reports say they are, and Wembley Stadium is advertising that this Jaguars game is the 12th game in London, then you do the math here, and it makes sense that the Jaguars-Wembley game will be the first of the 3 London games. It will not be last in the order. It cannot possibly be last in the order, because if the Jaguars are playing as the road team at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and then play at Wembley, that would make the Wembley game the 13th game the Jags play at London, not the 12th. And obviously, you're not going to play a game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, then a game at Wembley, and then Tottenham Hotspur. You keep the field there the entire time. You play back-to-back weeks there, just like you have for a long, long time, ever since that stadium was built. Which raises the question. The first London game of the year will be the Jaguars at home. Who are they playing? Well, interestingly enough, we have this video leak from Wembley Stadium back on February 29th, courtesy of the Twitter account Aussie NFL. I might have talked about this video in previous videos, but you will clearly see on this one, the Jaguars playing the Jets. Now, what's funny is that the graphic is already outdated because that is no longer the Jets logo. They changed the logo a month after that video came out. But that can't be an old graphic because the Jaguars have never played the Jets in London before. They had to custom make that graphic and put it on the video board. Why would they do that if it wasn't going to be Jaguars Jets? It wouldn't seem to make a lot of sense to have that graphic on there if it wasn't those 2 teams playing. If it was, and again, they're not playing this year, but if it was something like the Jaguars against the 49ers, you could say, okay, maybe they're using an old graphic from the 2013 season. Maybe they're just testing something out on the video board, and this means absolutely nothing. But again, the Jags and Jets have never played in London before, so why would you have that graphic? I have no clue, unless the game was Jaguars-Jets. So they got to change the graphic again because that's not the logo of the Jets anymore, but you get the idea. It seems like Jaguars-Jets will be the first of the 3 London games to take place this year, and that one at Wembley Stadium. As for game number 2, like I said, the Jaguars played back-to-back games in London last year. It worked well for them. All signs point to them doing the same thing this year. So who will they play as the road team? Well, if you look at the schedule, the other 2 London teams are the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. The last time the Jaguars played the Vikings, that was in Minnesota back in 2020, so they're playing in Jacksonville in 2024. The last time the Jaguars played the Bears, that was the game that every Jaguars fan, including myself, was rooting for them to lose because it was week 16 and the Jaguars with the loss would have clinched the number 1 pick and get Trevor Lawrence. Everyone was rooting for Jacksonville to lose that game. It was a crazy, crazy time. But that game was in Jacksonville, and this year the game is supposed to take place in Chicago. We know the Bears are giving up a home game for London, and the Vikings are giving up a home game for London. Well, the Vikings can't play the Jaguars this year in Minnesota. The Bears can play the Jaguars in Chicago. The Bears are the home team, the Jaguars are the road team. So that means, because the Jaguars are going to play 2 games in London and play back-to-back weeks in London, that Jaguars-Bears will be the second of the London games, the first one at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Again, if you read between the lines with this, you had to wonder if the Wembley game is going to be the first game or the third game, or the Jags would do a game at Tottenham Hotspur and then a game at Wembley, or vice versa. A game is the home team and the road team, or then a game is the home team and the road team. They are going to do home team first against the Jets, road team second against the Bears, and that means the Minnesota Vikings will be the third and final London game. They're going to play 3 straight weeks in London, get all the games going back to back to back, as they've done for the past few years. They don't really space them out anymore. They do them back to back to back. Now, I don't know who the Vikings are going to play. I have no inside source on that. There's no clues as to who Minnesota is playing, so I'm not even going to speculate on that because, again, no clues whatsoever. But it seems from all the evidence we have, based on the Wembley Stadium website, based on the reports that the Jags are playing 2 games in London, and based on that video that came out earlier by Aussie NFL, that the first London game at Wembley Stadium is Jaguars-Jets, the second game is Jaguars-Bears, and the third game to be determined against the Vikings. But that will be the order of the London games. First one Jaguars, second one Jaguars playing in it, Bears as the home team, and the final one will be the Vikings as the home team. We don't know the dates. I know Ozzy speculated middle of October, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Again, I don't know anything about the dates necessarily. I know the availability of Wembley Stadium, what they got going on. The event schedule does not really go past the Eras Tour that Taylor Swift is embarking on in June and August, but we will see what happens with the dates there. But I can tell you the order of the London games: Jaguars against probably the Jets, Jaguars-Bears number 2, Vikings, undetermined opponent, number 3. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that this is accurate? Do you think my hypothesis is accurate based on what we've seen so far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do this episode of GG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.